Welcome to Crawl or No Crawl. This is Carolyn Holzman. Today is October 16th. It's a Monday, and we have a lot of ground to cover, so I will try to keep this quick. Supposedly, we are still in a core update from what I see. I think we're in the search and recovery phase at the end, and I'll show you why I say this. This is the index detector page, and I'll just quickly run through here the rendering time test. Please note that it does indicate from a recent test that we do have, or our pages have, 5 seconds to fully load before the Google bot moves on. So historically, we know it was double that a few years ago, thanks to the eagle eye of Ted Kubitis, but we don't know when it changed. And likely, I'm speculating, I don't have data around this. It makes sense that it might have been around the whole core Web Vitals affair, like hurry up, speed up your sites. That might have been their way of telling us. But now this is what it is, and there are several of us that are keeping track of this time. So when it changes, you'll be one of the first to know if you're watching these reports. Now, in the last report, I shared that Google was in a recrawling, re-rendering phase due to all the pages and sites whose logs that I have access to that I could read. And that it covered sites with a lot of traffic and those that literally have zero and hadn't been published on for a year. The same was true across the board, that Google was going in and re-rendering, fully rendering pages, probably sampling across the entire index. So we have to ask ourselves, why? Why would they do that? Why would they spend money on that, spend resources on that? Things that I saw an increase in were validation crawls. And that's where a bot will hit both URLs, checking the HTTP status. So it'll do it without the secure and with the secure and confirm which one is actually serving a 200 status. Same thing for the www and the trailing slash, so forth and so on. And that was across the board, not just on content pages, but sitemaps, robots text files, everything. And I surmise from just what I know about computer systems, they aren't recrawling and holding. They do a thing called batching. And we saw, 2 big jumps. Let me go back over here. We saw 2 big jumps last week in volatility over here, and I keep track in the, this is the SEMrush sensor data. And you can see here we had like a really high spike here and another spike before the weekend. So here's what happened last week. If you look here, we had 2 new inspection tool crawlers. When I say like 2 new, I mean 2 updates to bring this one up to the latest version of Chrome 48. I'll show you, these are my numbers. I'll show you what they represent. Now also over here, I need to scroll up here a little bit. All right, what these indicate is that we had a lot of new Chrome builds in the standard crawlers. So we have a new desktop Chrome 48, that's this one, that's what that D stands for. And then we had a mobile. And so this is what happens is that for new Chrome builds, it's always a mobile first, and then at the end of their testing of that Chrome build, they sort of top it off at the end with the desktop version of the same build. So then, like I say, we had a new Chrome build, and if we look back over here, like between the 9th and the 10th, we had 2 back-to-back Search Console report updates. So you see here in like one day, they processed 3 days of data. That's why I'm saying like they probably held it back and then pushed it out here, and then we have that high volatility. Also, between Saturday and Sunday, we saw a Search Console report update as well. So I think we're going to be back on that 3-day schedule. I want to show you if you're like, what are those, Carolyn? So if you go into Search Console and you go under indexing, and then you will see a date above that box. And all of our Search Consoles update at the same time. So it's kind of like it's a bigger deal, I think, than we're aware of, kind of moving all that data around. So here's the thing, I've called these updates before, and I think what I'm being able to see is an anatomy of an update. We start with a new Chrome build. They shut down taking in new content, or at least holding it back from getting served, hence, these sort of 3 days in 24 hours. And then they update all the pieces of the crawlers until everything gets caught up. And then, for instance, last week on these inspection tool crawlers, the Chrome builds were not the same. One was a Chrome 45 and others were Chrome 46. And so they get stair-stepped up on their way to here. So anyway, I don't log the builds on this sheet, but I do count them over here. And you can see here, these are where the Chrome builds are noted. So this is when Mobile 49 came in. And usually what happens is we start, there's 2 mobile Chrome versions usually crawling at the same time, and there's a little overlap when there's 3. But what will happen is this Mobile 47, all things being equal, is going to be retired, and then it's just going to be 48 and 49 until 49, I guess, proves that it's doing okay. All right. So that all of that weighed together, all of that sort of like putting that into the mix, that's why I say we are likely out of the rescoring phase and into the cleanup phase, cleanup and recovery, where likely if things went as planned to engineers, I think we're going to get an all clear signal sometime this week, maybe as late as early part of next week. But that's why I pretty much think that this update is over. So check your Search Console. And I don't think people isolate their URLs in Search Console enough, that they just look at the composite view. And once you start identifying your money pages in there, or you're tracking things and you see that they dropped out, I would go and take a look at the pages themselves. And likely, feel free to leave in your comments below, like if you find anything that's interesting or weird, check and see what dropped out, because there's many reasons why things will drop out. It's not one thing. It's kind of like usually if someone's in ill health, there's a lot of extra things in there. It's not just that one thing, unless it's a broken leg. Okay. All right. Well, until then, see you in the SERPs.